even in the fighting community, you had things like Pride, and that was run by the Yakuza, and you had like people getting paid in big wads of cash that they just walked through the airport with. Like, there was a lot. So I'm really interested in seeing what he's about to talk about.
This is the Japan that you all used to see. Beautiful mountains, modern technology, and ancient temples.
Yep.
But did you know that you can't go into public swimming pools or bathhouses if you have tattoos?
Because they're Yakuza. So basically what was the case was that a lot of Yakuza had big tattoos, either on the back or on the sleeves, because that's what you see a lot of that type of thing. And the onsens, which is the bathhouses, kind of didn't allow for that. So if you had tattoos, unless you're a foreigner, and it's becoming more and more accepted now because tattoos aren't just a Yakuza thing anymore.
Or that many people are so overworked they often sleep in the streets, or even worse, decide to disappear and build an entirely new life.
Interestingly, when it comes to the disappearance and the overwork, a lot of people, apparently from what I've heard, you can get the debts cleared from being away for a certain amount of time. So they just kind of like disappear and then go to a different prefecture, and disappear for like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years. I don't remember how much it was. And for the overwork, they are so overworked. They're like they have their own word for death by suicide, death by overwork. Let's see, by overwork, Japanese word. It's called karoshi. So it can be translated into overwork death. So there you have it.
This is the dark side of Japan. Something that's been around for a long time in the country is the Japanese Yakuza, or Japanese organized crime group. Yakuza have been in existence for over 300 years, tracing back to 1612 when they started to attract the attention of the government. They are organized into families and group members for mutual protection, having similar rituals and format to the samurai. In fact, it was believed that Yakuzas are descended from gangs of Ronins or wayward samurais. The Japanese...
So if you don't know what a Ronin is, it's often a person that either lost their master or deserted, right? So it was a samurai that lost their master or deserted and become a Ronin, like a wandering samurai without any master.
These Yakuza engage in extortion, blackmail, smuggling, drug trafficking, gambling, loan sharks, and other activities that control restaurants, bars, and companies all over the cities. Yakuza members often have elaborate tattoos that have their meanings.
Yep.
Members of a clan often have the same tattoos, but with a strict requirement. They should not be visible in everyday life. You might also recognize them by their missing pinky finger.
The missing pinky finger is a very interesting thing. A lot of them have to cut it off as like either an apology. I think it is to leave the Yakuza as well. You have to cut it off, but I'm not quite sure if that is fact or fiction.
Often, Yakuza have to undergo yubitsume, or finger shortening, to pay back for their wrongdoings. They reached their height in the 1960s with over 184,000 members.
It's like a
but
country
nowadays,
almost.
their numbers have dwindled to 40,000. This could be due to the laws established in 2011 that made it illegal for businesses to give money or make transactions with gang members.
There's more to it than that. They've basically smoked them out. Everybody that's like a gang member or gang affiliated, you can't even rent a house to them, or you can't do A, B, C, or D. There's so many things the Japanese government is doing to kill off the Yakuza.
The Yakuza is also why the Japanese are very strict about tattoos, as it's often synonymous with the organized crime group. In Japan, people with tattoos are banned from entering most onsens, hot springs, ryokan, traditional inns, sento, public baths, pools, gyms, or even some capsule hotels. The rules were made to keep the gang members from certain spaces. Aside from association with the Yakuza, there was also a time in the Edo period when criminals were punished with tattoos, and sex workers would have tattoos to show romantic devotion to customers.
Wow, that is so goddamn cool. I never knew that some sex workers would use tattoos I have to check that. Japanese sex worker tattoos. This is something I'm super interested in afterwards, actually. Let's see here. The crazy ways Japanese courtesans prove their love to clients. I'm definitely watching this one. If you're watching this video right now and you're waiting to find out why they did it, it'll be on my channel later.
Tattoos were deemed illegal during the Meiji period, 1868 to 1912, although it was legalized again in 1948. The stigma continues, and people with tattoos still have limited options when it comes to bathing facilities. You might be familiar with the Fukushima tragedy. In 2011, a 15-meter tsunami disabled the Fukushima Daiichi reactors, causing a nuclear accident where 3 cores melted. The incident is rated level 7 by the International Nuclear and Radiological Event Scale, the most serious level. Fast forward to August 2023, when the government decided to release...
Did they just take a little Hitler stash on there? Did they... They're like, you're not getting away with this time, you sneaky dictator. That's not okay.
Treated radioactive water into the Pacific Ocean. Japan had already received a green light from the UN, as the analyzed value of radioactivity is 1,500 becquerels per liter of tritium, much lower than the 60,000 becquerels per liter of tritium standard. China immediately placed a ban on all Japanese aquatic products, and people in Japan, Hong Kong...
But that makes a lot of sense. If you're dumping shit into the ocean, that's most likely... Because if you didn't know about it, it's interesting that America bombed... I don't remember if it was the... what islands there were, but they bombed a part of the ocean with the nuclear weapons. And then islanders popped up from everywhere. Like now they can't eat the food because they're irradiated and shit. And so America put in McDonald's and Starbucks and that type of stuff on the islands. And now all of them are fat. Very interesting. So they destroyed the food they had there, then fed them their food, and they got fat and unhealthy. But they can't eat their own food because their own food is irradiated because of America's bomb tests. It's sick.
Hong Kong and South Korea have voiced their concerns through protests. Some have turned to Reddit to discuss this issue. Some people have mentioned that the results of the research have shown that they are as radioactive as bananas, so there's nothing to worry about. A lot of people still expressed concern as they're just diluting the radioactive water with seawater to lower the concentration and pretend it's safe. To put the rumors to rest, Japan's Prime Minister, Fumio Kishida, ate a fish caught in Fukushima, and his office released a video on social media. Ironically, it was found that China, which banned Japanese products due to this incident, had a nuclear power plant that released about 3 times more tritium than Fukushima.
But China, they're sneaky. China, they're really clever in what they do. They do all these like things just to get around certain topics. And they're like, oh, we did this. They're bad. They're bad. I'm like, yeah, they are bad, but you're worse in this case.
South Korea's Kori nuclear power plant also had similar amounts. Another side of Japan that you don't often see in other countries is their maid cafes.
What's the dark side about that?
These are cosplay-themed cafes where staff are dressed up in maid outfits and serve customers. It's so popular among otakus that there are around 60 maid cafes in Akihabara alone. For the most part, it's a fun and harmless experience, but there is some dark side to this industry. It's said that the work environment is very stressful, and some maids have panic...
Okay, I'm just going to straight up call bullshit on this, because if Japan already has, as we showed earlier in the video, the word for overwork, suicide by overwork or death by overwork. Now, what are we talking about? Okay, we're talking about a bunch of people in a place that are so stressed and have so many problems. Of course, you have the rise of the haras. If you don't know what that is, it's the sekuhara. It's like sexual harassment, and you put hara in the back of a word to make it like a negative in a sense. So the younger generation has the rise of the haras. However, one of the biggest problems here is every single job will be, to some degree, you'll be able to overwork in it in Japan because it is just such a high work pressure. I don't really think that the maid cafes themselves are the worst part. I'm sure that's cafes that'll have the same effect.
Attacks during working hours. The maids are also forbidden to put on weight and keep their figures as slim as possible. There's also a hierarchy within the maids, with foreign maids being at the bottom of the rank. Customers also have forums where they would discuss maids in sexually explicit ways.
Okay, that's different.
Another term that's unique to Japan is the salarymen. Salarymen are salaried workers or white-collar workers who are very loyal to their corporation. They're so loyal that most salarymen work between 12 to 18 hours a day.
Fun fact, if the boss wants them to come drinking, they have to go drinking. And then often they will drink and they will have to serve the boss and sit and drink with them. And then they'll have to sleep at the place where they're drinking. I'll sleep a bit and then go back to work right away because they have no time to go home. And that's a lot of reason why the women cheat. And the cycle continues anew. And then they complain, why aren't we getting any children? Well, because you're stressing your men to death. The women have nobody to be with. And then they end up cheating. So there's no incentive in Japan to get a child.
Some have even called them derogatory terms like kaishi no inu, company's dogs,
company dog.
shakichu, corporate livestock. The hard day of Japanese corporate workers began early in the morning when people have to stuff themselves into an overfilled train. These trains are so full that the government decided to have a staff specifically tasked with cramming people in. Then they'll work.
Hello everybody, I am the Kramu police. I am about to cram you into this literal space. Ooh, Kameha.
Away in the office until nighttime. They work so late that they can only blow off steam in late-night spots like izakayas or pachinkos. Sometimes, the salarymen get so tired from working that some have to sleep on the street, the train, or even the sidewalk. Often, many families wouldn't be able to see much of their father since they work so much.
See?
Corporate workers in Japan are also facing dangerous consequences for their lifestyle, suffering from heart conditions, strokes, and mental health issues. Sometimes you can see people screaming and punching a hole in the wall in the streets of Tokyo because of.
This one was a bit more on the more depressive side. Not gonna lie, I'm not gonna not gonna say that this was a super happy topic, but it is a very important topic to talk about because everybody that loves Japan seems to be looking at it with rose-tinted glasses, and they aren't actually seeing all the bad things about it. And I have a big affection for Japan, but that doesn't mean I cannot understand the negatives.
Of stress. Sadly, these meltdowns are so common that most people would just walk past each other as if nothing is wrong. The worst case is called koroshi, death by overworking. The first case of koroshi was recorded in 1969 when a newspaper company employee died of a stroke at the young age of 29.
Jesus.
Some of these people are so overwhelmed that they decide to end their lives. They often travel to Aokigahara, a suicide forest.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is the suicide forest that Logan Paul went to. And Logan Paul, we all know who that is. He is the brother of the guy who's fighting Mike Tyson. And he is the largest perpetrator / victim in one that I've ever seen. And I will keep saying that till the day I am goddamn forced off the internet, because he's an asshole.
To kill themselves. Another effect of their stressful lives is jauhatsu, where tens of thousands of Japanese people go missing every year. People who purposefully vanish from their lives and disappear. People sometimes are so overwhelmed with work, they decide to disappear. Although the leading cause is due to dementia, some people escape due to domestic violence,
and debt,
or the shame of job loss. There's even a line of business that helps people to disappear called yonigeya. Japanese are some of the friendliest people in the world, but that doesn't mean they...
Are they? I mean, just because they're respectful doesn't necessarily make them friendly, per se. Like, I have a few black friends living in Japan, and the amount of racism there is massive. But actually, the black people aren't the worst. The worst people tend to be, I think it was the Filipino or the Chinese or something like that. I had a friend of mine who was half Chinese and half Japanese, and he got so bullied in school because he had Chinese parents, like a Chinese parent. And wow, was it bad. It wasn't just a little bit. There's like a real hierarchy in races where white, I think, is like number 2 after Japanese. And I think Chinese or Filipino, whatever it was all the way on the bottom. They're like trash.
Don't discriminate. The country is famously homogenous with over 98.5% of the population being purely Japanese.
Yeah, exactly.
However, there's the case of hafu, or half Japanese people. These people often feel alienated as most people view them as foreigners. Some Korean and Chinese hafu face discrimination as they're from countries that were colonized by Japan. This is especially true as well for black hafu. They face plenty of stereotypes, such as being good at basketball, funny.
Isn't it true though that black Afros are better at basketball? Like literally, my black friends' kids play basketball.
Or liking rap music. If you ever buy a phone in
And they
Japan,
like rap music.
there's one little annoying detail to their cell phones you might have noticed. All their cell phones will have a shutter sound you can't turn off no matter what you do.
But that's good.
For some people,
That's good because they keep fucking taking like upskirt pictures in the bus and train and stuff. Like, that's again the hara I was talking about. You have the seku hara. That's seku hara. They go like, oops, click, click. So I think they were like required by law after a while because there was so many gropings and stuff on trains and people taking upskirt pictures of the underwear of girls that they had to put on like a shutter, and it's wild. So if you're ever standing there in a skirt and you don't have bloomers underneath, you might have your panties pictured.
this is an annoyance, but it can be life-changing for others. The reason behind this shutter sound is privacy concerns, so people can't take pictures they shouldn't be taking. The country has a lot of cases where people take unwanted pictures of others. The Japanese police saw a huge rise in voyeurism, a 60% rise from 2007 to 2016. That's
Jesus
why this
Christ.
law was made, to protect vulnerable people, especially women. Even the tech giant Apple agreed to customize the cell phones that they ship to Japan. So although this might seem a little annoying to you, it's made with good intentions, and the overall purpose is to safeguard people's privacy.
It makes
Japan
100%
is
sense,
such
honestly.
an interesting country that I wanted to share a couple more interesting facts. Japan is the land of wacky inventions.
Yes, and also the best commercials in the world. I'll show you a commercial in the end, so just, stick with me till the end, and we'll find you a few funny commercials.
Like this amazing cooling spray that people use during summertime. All you need to do is spray the foam onto your skin or a
Wow,
surface.
that's
Then
so
take
cool.
the foam and put it wherever you want on your body. You'll be cooled
Wow.
off in no time. It seems that the Japanese are obsessed with beating the heat. Another innovation is called the fan jacket, where each jacket comes with air conditioning.
Well, it makes sense because if they stay most of the time in an office, and in the office, well, it's not like exactly like there's going to be the best conditions, especially if they're there literally 18 hours a day. It is going to be a terrible, 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 terrible time for some people. So, yeah, I think inventions like this probably makes it more bearable.
It's perfect for outdoor workers who want to stay breezy in a hot and sticky temperature. Another crazy invention is the overtime work stickers, where people will indicate to the public that they're currently working overtime, so please don't disturb them. The country is also the inventor of the luxury fruit market.
Yeah,
From
that's
a white
wild.
jewel strawberry to a cubed-shaped watermelon, prices go up to tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
That's why it's the best gift you can give when visiting people.
But it's a ridiculous gift. Like, if you could give somebody 10,000 worth of watermelon, just fucking give me a car. Something usable. Not something that'll mold in my fridge after like 15 minutes.
Japan is a beautiful country with amazing views and rich traditions. It also has its issues with crippling mental health and prejudice due to the way their society is shaped. Hopefully, the country can overcome this and continue to be one of the most inventive and creative countries in the world.
Well, a lot of these things I can't say I didn't know. This one had like a long running gag.
どうしたの？
トールさんが避けるグミ咲いてる時の顔が
I love the face you make when you tear sakura gumi.
そう？
Really?
もっと長
I
く
want
見
you
て
to
た
look
い
at it
な
longer.
Long,
Jeez.
危ないね
Oh, that man's crazy.
避けるグミ対長い避けるグミ。
キリンさんが見て手長猿こっちはゾウさんだ
ちーちゃんは長いのが好きなんだね。
別
You
に
really
意
like
識して
long
るわけ
things,
じゃ
don't
ない
you?
けど
気の
It's
せい
not.
か。
Wait, what?
あー
What is
せい
that?
か。
意識してるわけじゃ
It's not that I like them. I like them in
Like it.
particular.
気のせいか。
Ah, must be my imagination.
Long,前にも言ったね、あの長い人。
That long person was there last time too.
避けるグミ対長い避けるグミ。
Basically, there's a whole series of them, of the long man people. And it's one of the fucking most hilarious ads I've ever seen in my life. If you're interested in watching it, long man, you can watch the whole thing. And yeah, or if you're interested in them having me do it on either stream or on YouTube, you tell me.